Did you know that Jesus spent 6 hours on the cross? And not only that, he also had to listen to constant shouts, insults, and mockery from those who passed in front of him. But also wonderful and inexplicable things happened at the time of his crucifixion. One of the strangest things that happened was that there was a time of dark darkness over the earth for about 3 hours. Nature did not remain indifferent to the death of Jesus. The Bible narrates a terrible tremor that split the temple in half, just at the moment when Jesus died. Matthew's gospel also tells us that there was a great earthquake in the earth, so strong that it was accompanied by strong lightning that split the rocks. But undoubtedly, the most amazing thing was that many saints were resurrected. People who had been dead until that day now came back to life and gathered around Jesus. Only the power of God can raise the dead. Comment if you knew this biblical story and follow me for more.
Now, this video demonstrates one of the most misleading ways that the Bible is taught to people when they know people haven't studied the Bible. But thankfully, I have. So let me cue you in onto some of the things that they are misleading you in. The first aspect of it is talking about how the Bible says, and they would just say the Bible says, and not be very clear on the distinctions between where it says what. Now, as far as it becoming dark, an eclipse basically happening of the sun, those are only mentioned in Matthew, Luke, and Mark. They're not mentioned in John. Then they go on and just say, and the Bible says, but in Mark it also mentions, but first he says the Bible says, and he's talking about an earthquake, tremors happening. And then he said in Matthew, actually he said in Matthew the tremors happened, the earthquake happened, and then the zombies got up and walked around Jerusalem. And he misleadingly added that they corralled around Jesus, to which that's not in the book at all. And that's how they mislead you in this book. Now I want you guys to imagine in your mind, there's 4 of us. We're at the crucifixion. The sun is blotted out. Now, astronomical history demonstrates that there was an eclipse in and around that time frame, but that eclipse was more westward into Greece and Sardinia, that portion of the world, and that Jerusalem would have only seen a partial eclipse if it was happening at the exact same time. So blacking out the sun totally is a no-go. But let's just say, for all shits and giggles, that an eclipse happened. How did John miss the eclipse? I mean, if there's 4 of us there, John didn't see the eclipse? I think that's something that he would have noticed and was noteworthy to write down and would have been amazed. Now, also, there's 4 of us there. Only Matthew noticed that there was an earthquake. Mark and Luke and John didn't notice an earthquake. And then it claims in Matthew that the graves of the saints gave up their bodies. So what you're telling me is that Mark, Luke, and John didn't notice the dead zombies walking around Jerusalem and then corralling themselves around the Jesus character? To which nobody saw that part. Nobody even mentioned that part. Nobody even said that part. Because according to your book, he was in the grave for 3 days and then he came back. So how are they corralling around Jesus when they walking around? And where's the Roman account of the earthquake? The Roman account of the sun being blotted out? The Romans definitely would have said something about some zombies walking around Jerusalem from all the dead bodies. This shows how they'll tell you the Bible says, but not be specific so that you cannot see the contradictions. And without reading it for yourself, you'll think that all 4 Gospels mention all of those things happening, but yet they don't. It also shows you how he added his own little twist to everything, as far as them corralling around Jesus, when you have been taught in this story that Jesus was absent for those 3 days, and it wasn't until the 3rd day he came back, and he only talked, at that point he talked to Mary Magdalene and a few other women who was around, and he saw some people on the road, and then he appeared in one version in Galilee and another version in Bethany, and then, well, he told him to go to Galilee, but he appeared in Jerusalem and Bethany. So This is why you have to read this book if you're going to claim this book. But when you read this book, it demonstrates why you shouldn't claim this book. But y'all have a great day. And remember always, you got to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration.